Hello. We've got some people already in the chat. Thank you guys for coming out. We've got a frog in the chat. We've got Mr. Joe Catapano in the chat. And we've got Genuine Comics in the chat. All these fantastic people and fantastic creators coming to join us as we talk about our second book for the Nine Realms review show. Today we're going to be looking at none other than War Party by Rampart Press, Professor Murph. And what a book do we have for you today? So the first thing that I want to establish with this series is that it kind of breaks the status quo in a lot of ways on how Murph handles production. But before I go too much into that, I suppose I should probably introduce myself, because that's how these things work, right? Just in case, for some odd reason, these people that have known me for the past year don't know who I am. My name is Michael Oden. I am the creator, writer of Elysian Fields and The Embrace, and I am the founder of Nine Realms Publishing. And I am here to talk to you guys about comics. A lot of people don't realize this, but my writing career didn't actually start as a comic book writer. I did a lot of freelance journalism for on like industry related stuff, whether it be comic book reviews, exposés, I did a lot of reviews of comic book films or talking about upcoming announcements with films, just a lot of different stuff. And I still do it from time to time. I write currently for Up Your Geek, just for fun every here and there. I think my last piece I did was on John Walker's portrayal in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which actually like blew me away. But for the most part, I stick to writing the comics, and I'm going into school and other things with life. But I do love reviewing comics, and it was something that when I started getting into the indie scene, I became way more appreciative of, because when you're reading the mainline books, it's like eating junk food, right? Like some of it is good, like most of it's good just based off of nostalgia. They don't really push the envelope with anything. Joe says, I might have to bounce, haven't read War Party yet and can't have spoilers. Don't worry, Joe, I'm going to keep this relatively spoiler free. I don't want to ruin the books. Generally, my initial thoughts on a book, I try to, like, I'll showcase a little bit of art and everything like that, but I'm not going to go deep into the story elements. So like the main thing is to kind of talk about the things that I enjoyed from the book, the things that I think could be done better, etc., etc. I try to make these things constructive. Genuine Comics says, I think most people haven't read it yet. I don't know about that. There's actually, like, Rampart Press has done a phenomenal job of fulfillment. I see people getting those packages every day. And so, and I'll tell you what, when I got, this is one of my like most anticipated. I'm not usually one for the whole werewolf trend, but like I love Last of the Mohicans. I think the French and Indian War is one of the most fascinating wars in American history, and it's often overlooked. So when I saw this, I knew it was for me, and I made sure that I got in on it, and I backed the variant tier. But that being said, one of the things that makes this so absolutely unique is that when you back War Party, you aren't backing a single book. And I think that this is something that I really want to focus on with this, because it's brilliant in my opinion. Backing War Party is effectively backing a season pass of content. You have purchased 6 floppy issues. And the first wave of fulfillment is only the first 3 books, right? So like I have my copies here, and granted, I have more than 3 books because I bought the variant pack, so it comes with a bunch of variants. So all the traditional, like all the A variants are signed by Professor Murphy. So this is the first issue, second issue, third issue, Oh, oops. So this is the back on the back of the first one is still the first issue. There's the second issue. And then we've got these variants to showcase the other characters. You got the Jaguar one coming down on the French, which is really cool. You've got the alligator taking on the redcoats here, which is pretty outstanding. You've got the bear taking on Mohicans. And my personal favorite is this one. I fucking love this cover. Um, I love everything about it. This is actually the version of issue 1 that I read. So yeah, like this was what I got, and this is only like the first wave of books. As I said, this is issues 1 through 3 of 6, and I talked to Justin because he and I have kind of bonded over the whole history thing, and I let him know what I thought, my initial thoughts of the book, and he's saying that with how things are going, he's hoping to get the next set of books out. I think he said like around January time is the earliest he can probably get them done, which is fine. I mean, like that's the brilliance of this, as I said, is that you have purchased a season of content with books, and this really sets it apart from the other business model, because like most indie creators that you see going are they're doing a singular issue, usually a graphic novel between 48 and 80 pages of content, and it takes a long time for them to get out, and that's understandable because there's a lot of work that gets put into that. I mean, like the Lucent is just now fulfilling, and that campaign's been open for a year, and it's done great, and everyone's really excited for it. But like at the same time, what I really like about this model is it really gives you your bang for your buck. And this is something that I really want to talk about with this show in particular, because I don't think that there are a lot of people that are talking about value, the inherent value to a price point, right? Like a lot of campaigns, they charge X amount, and the question is, does the product live up to the price point? Like, was it worth the 25, 20, 10, whatever that you purchased? And so, as I said, I got the $50 variant tier, which including shipping, I think came out to around $60, maybe a little bit more. Which means that once you take out shipping for 6 issues plus the 3 variants of the first issue, and I don't know if he has any extra variants that he's doing for the later issues or what have you that are included, but for just that, you have 50 divided by, I think it's what, like, my math is not the greatest, so 50 divided by 8. So we're just going to do that real quick. That's $6.25 per book. And that's not counting if like he does variants for that next set of 6 that are included in that. That's just for the base of what I've received versus what I'm expecting to receive. And that's an outstanding price point. It's it's one of these things that, well, and you even see on the front cover that he puts the value of each issue at around $4 per, right? And so we're paying about $2 more than for each of these, than what would be on the shelf. But I think that is a more than fair thing, as far as you're getting it before anyone else does. You're getting it before it hits shelves in stores, and you're also getting these special variants that might not be released to the public. We don't know. We don't know what his we don't know what his thing is. And so Frog G says 6 floppies, $160, 160 pages, only $25. That's a steal. Absolutely. And at that rate, for 25 divided by 6, that's $4. That's like right at $4 per book. That's outstanding. And I think that this is something that really needs to be highlighted, is look at the value that you are getting. look at the value you were getting. You were getting so much content, and you're getting it for mainstream industry price points. Like a book like this would cost $4 at shelf price. And this is a campaign that didn't break six figures. It's about halfway there. It's sitting there right at 44,000. And I don't know if Professor Murtha has turned a profit necessarily, but since he is the predominant person handling the art and uh, story elements of this, he's not really having to pay too much for the outside stuff. I think he has a colorist and a letterer, and letterers generally tend to run anywhere between $10 and $20 per page, and colorists, depending on where they're from, can range anywhere between, I've seen some colorists charge like 30 a page, and I've seen some colorists charge 100 a page. It all depends on the level of quality that they're providing, and it depends on what region of the world they're from. Like if you're using somebody from the Philippines or Brazil, that exchange rate's really going to do you a favor, because like $30 to them is like an insane amount of money. But anyways, as I was saying, War Party is a fantastic value, and it might just be one of the best comic values in indie comics as far as this is concerned, because you're getting a whole season's worth of content. You dropped 3 books on the tail end of this year, and will likely have the next 3 at the beginning of next. And that's incredible, like genuinely fantastic. And I think that everybody should be paying very close attention to Rampart Press, because this is an outstanding debut. As far as like, I know that I've been talking mostly about this business aspect of price points, but like, this is an outstanding debut of content. The book itself is the book itself is great. Professor Murphy is a history buff, a history teacher. I think that that's what he's a professor of. I'm fairly certain he's a professor of history. French and Indian War is very clearly something that he knows a fuck ton about, and that research comes across here, like in his visual storytelling and everything like that. If you know anything about the French and Indian War, you can already make assumptions about certain characters. I think probably the best example of this is the main character's brother. You see him in a green outfit with a peacock beret, and so with me having the background that I have, I knew immediately that guy was a Rogers Rangers. And so Joe Catapano says, yeah, Murph's model is making me think Star Circuit has 7 more chapters. I wonder if I tried a campaign for the whole bulk of them as single issues. And I think that that's like a really good model, is if you break these down into floppies, you're getting people and are releasing them periodically. Now you actively have what the mainline industry has that's made it so successful, is these and Todd McFarlane said this during the pandemic, when everyone was pencils down. I was like, we need to make sure that the consumer continues to have more product, because the moment that the moment that they stop having the comics, the moment that the habit's broken. And that's the big thing with comics. Without making like too, like, obviously don't read too much into this, but it's kind of like, a drug. Like if you want to keep your consumers invested, you need to have a constant supply, because once they stop having that supply, they're going to look for something else elsewhere, and they might not come back. And what this does is it allows, each one of these books is around 25, 32 pages. And so what this allows for is you have this constant stream of content. People can get these first 3 books and be like, well, I'm going to read one of these this week, the next one next week, and the next one after that. That's 3 weeks. That's 3 weeks of time that they have now allotted to War Party. That's a whole month of content, and that's really good and they get it right away. And so when they get the next shipment of books, it becomes that whole thing where they're having to wait a few months, but they've effectively got, if you compare that to like mainstream industry, they've effectively got 3 to 4 months of content. Like that's because that's how that would a book like this would likely be released at a monthly rate, given the quality of writing, research, and art. So it's definitely one of these things that I think that a lot of people need to evaluate and think about is, how are we going to handle this moving forward? Because at this kind of price point and the profit that that Professor Murphy turned, with it being a mid 5-figure campaign for his first book, that clearly is a testament to the success of this. And I think that he's going to, like, as he fulfills this first wave of books, we are going to see, I believe, and I could be absolutely wrong at this, but by the time we get the full 6 issues out, I would not be surprised if War Party breaks the 100K barrier, because it's already about halfway there. And that's outstanding, and so that's really great for him. I know that he said that he's planning on closing up the campaign around Christmas time. So if you guys haven't gotten in on that, highly recommend. And with that being said, let's talk about why I highly recommend it. So we're actually going to take a look at this one, because I do absolutely love this variant. So this is the first issue. All right, this is the first issue of War Party, and we're going to crack this open here. All right, so this is our variant cover of issue 1. Let's take a look. The cover is done right here, covered by Michael Golden. Michael Golden did a phenomenal job on this. I mean, Professor Murphy's initial pitch for this was like Last of the Mohicans meets Native American mythology and blending the two. And he absolutely delivered. And so we get in this first issue a very similar setup to what happens in kind of like the second act of Last of the Mohicans, where you have this town of colonists that gets attacked by an Indian war party. Hence the name of the book. And the main character's daughter gets kidnapped. As I said, it's very, very similar to the events that take place in the second act of Last of the Mohicans, where, you know, the Mohican, the Magua, the antagonist of the story, has led a band of braves and has completely decimated a colonial settlement that was supposed to be under the protection of the British, while the men were off as a militia helping out, fighting the French and everything for the 7 Years' War. So you have this very similar kind of setup. But then where it diverts is that you have this main character who has this history with a Native American shaman, medicine woman in this case. I want to make sure I say her name right. I think it's Diani. Let's see. Here's some examples of just some absolutely fantastic art. As I stated, like, if you know anything about the French and Indian War, you can already make some assumptions about certain characters. Like here's that character right here. If you notice, he's wearing that peacock beret. We've got Corventus has joined us here in the chat. Hey Corventus, thank you so much for showing up. I'm not going into too many spoilers. Like, you can see some of the art here, but like I'm not going to go in and like read dialogue or anything. But I wanted to make sure that I have Diani. Um, and so like everything is like broken up over these 3 issues, the first half of the story. It's super well paced. The art is beautiful, and feels very authentic to the period. As I said, you know, this is very clearly an area of expertise for the main character, for not for Professor Murphy. This is very clearly like his passion, and that love comes through, and like every book of this series has been just outstanding. Um, and yeah, like he nails it, um, without like gushing too hard. We're gonna put this one away, and we'll kind of take a look through the second book's art and see how it progresses and everything. And that like that's the thing, is that um, the first issue is where you see a lot of the history elements, where it sets the atmosphere and the setting, which is what it should be. Um, and then as you get progressively into the story, the mystical elements, the legendary elements of Native American skinwalker stories, those become far more prevalent and in their effect of the story. And you can even see this in the progressions of the cover work. So this is issue 2 right here. And then here's the first issue. So like the first issue, you get this thing. I have always stated that you know, covers should, especially for a first book, should tell the reader the entire story of your book in a singular issue, in a singular art piece, right? Like, and this absolutely does that. Is you've got Diani here in the background, and in the foreground you have all these skinwalkers transformed into their spirit, into a manifestation of their spirit totem. Um, and if you got his handbook, which I got a chance to read, thanks to a exclusive thing that Justin got to me, because he knew I was doing this review, and he wanted me to make sure that I had all the pieces, because it goes through a lot of the key lore of the series. Each one of these, if you have that handbook, you get to learn, like, you get all these dossier files on all the main characters, and it gives you a lot of insight into who they are, and you even get to see a lot of his research, because he shows like battle maps of everything, and how like what you're seeing unfold from a historical element is based on things that like really happened. Like it's these aren't just made up places. He might have changed certain names here or there, but they are representations of actual places, actual events in history. And so you see these battle maps, you see how the French and the British maneuvered their troops and everything. It's really cool. Again, it just goes to showcasing how much care has been put into this. And honestly, this is a gold standard, not only just based off of an art perspective, because as has been like really established through everything that has been showcased via the campaign, via streams and everything like that. um, the art's outstanding. Like this is what brought people in the first place, because that's what comics is, visual medium. And so a striking art style is going to be what brings people in, and War Party has that in spades. But what keeps people around is the depth of a story and the cohesiveness of that story. And this is where Justin Murphy sets himself apart from a lot of indie creators, a lot of other indie books that I've backed. I don't think that Justin has an editor, but being a professor in history, I'm sure that he has peers that he goes too, to make sure that his writing's on point. He doesn't necessarily have anyone credited. Let me see. I'm just flipping. Yeah, I don't think he has an editor. I think that he's got his main team, which is like him doing the line work, and then he's got a colorist and a letterer. Yeah, story, pencils, inks, and letters by Justin Murphy, and colors are by Jay Brown. So like he doesn't have an editor, but I wouldn't be surprised if he workshops his scripts around to his peers to make sure that he's telling a cohesive narrative and is while being faithful to the period and everything. Like, he's no stranger to peer review and everything like that. He is a professor. He teaches higher education at an American Collegiate Institute. So like, this is very much a product of pure professionalism all around. You have striking art, you have striking visuals, and you have somebody that knows how to tell a story both visually and through literature. And that is something very unique, because a lot of books' weak points that I have seen has been that the craft of writing the story has fallen flat. And I know that like Inch High Comic Guy has gotten a lot of flack for how blunt he is in his reviews, and I will never be that level of blunt or obtuse, because I don't think that attacking people for these things is necessarily the right way to go. Because I feel like any problem that you find, you should give constructive criticism, which, while Inch High does give a lot of solutions and everything, and it is technically constructive, it's coming from a place of, I invested money in this and I expect better than this. And so he's very frustrated with me. I'm going to take it from a more technical approach of like, this is what you need to do to improve. This is what you need to do to be better. Because I think that that's like how we grow, and that's what we focus on. That's a whole thing. But I do think that Inch High has made a very good point that one of the biggest failings of indie comics, of Comicsgate, whatever, is that there is this lack of attention to storytelling. There is this lack of appreciation for it. You've got people that are handling the scripts that shouldn't be either don't have the writing chops to handle it, or have the writing chops to handle it but need an editor to be like, hey, I get what you're trying to do here, but like, you're this is throwing your pacing off if you handle it this way. Let's change things up. And there are a lot of books where it's like, oh man, this art's really good, but then you read the story, and the characters and the story, they fall flat and they're completely and utterly forgettable. And War Party is not an example of this. And to even make sure that I wasn't completely full of shit, I let my dad read War Party, who is another big French and Indian War fan. And I had him read the first 3 issues, and he loved them. And he's not the target demographic, like, he's not a huge comic book guy. Like, he read comics as a kid and everything, but it's not something that he's obsessed with. It's not something that like he actively goes out and buys books and what have you. He's supported a few of my campaigns, but like, I'm his kid. He wants me to succeed. So that's a whole other thing. But as far as, we've got Undead Ramen here in the chat. Thank you for tuning in, Undead Ramen. It's good to see you. It's been a minute. So like in that way, these books really stand out. And when you pair the level of storytelling, both visually and narratively, of these books with the price point, with the release strategy, you have a book that really really sets itself apart from the rest of this industry. Um, like I don't I could count probably on one hand the amount of books that I have read that are even close to this level of writing. Um, there are plenty of books that look as good as this, if not even a little bit better. There are certainly books that I've even backed recently where the art has completely blown me away, but bad storytelling from a narrative perspective is a death to your brand, because nobody's going to like, everybody comes in for the art. That's the whole point, is that comics blends the visual and literary mediums. And so you come in, you see these beautiful covers, you see these great interior pieces, and that draws you in. But what's going to keep you around, what's going to keep you buying each and every book, is a solid narrative. And a lot of indie books just don't have it. Um, there's a lot of care put into the art because what that's what sells the book initially. But we're going to see, I think, a lot of these campaigns that initially had done very well start to diminish in sales as, you know, we have long waits for books, which isn't necessarily it isn't inherently a bad thing. But if you're going to have people wait a year plus for a book, then that book better be a fucking home run. Um, and the fact of the matter is that we're getting a lot of these books now that we've waited for a year and a half, and they aren't home runs. They're barely passable, or in some instances, just downright ripoffs. And so this release model that Professor Murphy has put out there combats this on pretty much every front. You're not buying a singular graphic novel. You're buying a collective of floppy books. You are buying a season's worth of content. Each issue is well paced, fits within the floppy, and everything like that. Like, it is what you would want from an industry book, and it carries the pacing through each issue and makes you wanting more. I read through these books within an hour and a half of the first day that I got them. They were fucking incredible. I absolutely loved them. Um, but yeah, as for things that can be improved, um, I don't think that there is much I can say on that front. There are like small little things that I'm sure are there that go a little bit above my head, because from an artistic standpoint, I'm a writer, like I do draw, but I am not an artist. Um, it's not my main focus. I look at things from a narrative perspective. Now, what I will say is, I think that the one thing that if I could put as a improve or what have you, is you have these first three issues and they're very well paced and they do everything to set up, but the covers, especially when you're looking at these variants and everything, and I know that of the whole point of variant covers is to kind of give you like cool things. They aren't necessarily things that happen in each specific issue. But what I will say is, one of the main complaints that you saw over in the mainstream industry was whenever you got a cover and the things that happened on the cover are not showcased in the directly in the book. And so, we've got on this main cover here, we've got all of the characters skinwalkers transformed into their spirit totems, which is really cool. But like, we don't see that in these first three issues. In fact, we don't even like it. That kind of gets set up at the end of the third book. Like, I won't give away spoilers or what have you, but the whole point is that you're driving the narrative to get to that point, and by the end of the first six issues, we'll have a lot of that. I have no doubt. But again, this all comes down to when you market a book and you showcase a lot of this stuff, people are going to be very excited to see these things. And I could definitely see a few people getting to the end of these first 3 issues and be like, oh man, I only saw one of the characters as a skinwalker. I was really hoping to see all three, like the whole group. But at the end of the day, this is all part of storytelling. You can't just throw these people in here uh, as the skinwalkers and what have you without giving that background, without setting up your story. Like that's when you're looking at structure of storytelling, your first blocking is setting. And I would say that these first 3 issues fit within that block. They are establishing your setting, they're establishing the foreground. And once we get to the end of the third book, we are getting to the narratives, the overall narratives rising action. And like each one of these issues follows that template as well. It sets up what it is. There's rising action, climax, falling action. And because it's a because it's a serialized story, it doesn't really have resolution so much as setting up the next round of events. Because as Stan Lee put it in very famously, there are no third acts in comics. Now, War Party, I'm fairly certain, will have a third act. There is going to come a point where we get a final issue, because this is a confined story. Like this is a story that there is an objective, and once it's achieved, that story will have been told. Um, I could be wrong. He could be planning on making this like a whole thing that goes on for years and years and years. And even after they achieve this objective, it could evolve and turn into something else. Who knows? That's not my wheelhouse. That's his. This is his IP. He manages it how he will. But that's the only real critique that I have, is that you have these beautiful designs of the characters and as skinwalkers, and you don't get to see them as the skinwalkers in the first 3 issues, which is fine, again, because that, like, he needs to set that up, and that's what these first 3 issues do. It sets that whole thing up. And wow, what's going on? Hold on, we're gonna remove that, and we're back. Okay, so that it sets that up very well. Like I don't really have any other things that I can say about War Party other than, if you haven't already gotten this book, you need to go get it. So that kind of wraps up the review portion of the video, and now time for the shameless promotion part of the video. So before I get into like my own promotion, I guess I should, we're going to remove the comic thing again, because we're done looking at the book. We're going to share War Party. So let's take a look at this campaign. So we've got War Party here. Justin Murphy is at, as I said, $44,063 USD with 1,109 backers. It's an outstanding. This is his first book, and the quality speaks for itself. And then we look at these value points, and it's nothing short of impressive. I mean, you look at the art. And it's already been established. Like, the art of this book is absolutely incredible. But like the big thing here is, like, this guy only has a few tiers, and his variant tier, I guess, yeah, they were exclusive. So like that $6 price point per book does make sense, because you got exclusive variants that are no longer available, but you can still get the 6-issue set for $25, and that's an outstanding value. And I mean, just look at that. Like, these are only the first few books. These aren't even, we don't even have covers for issues 4 through 6. Oh, I guess we do have issue 4, and there's that cover. So like, this is probably where we're going to get to see a lot of that action that people are looking for, where we see everybody as their spirit totems uh, going after the daughter, and fighting the Native American War Party. And I mean, just it's an absolutely mind-blowingly well done campaign. Congratulations to Justin for this. He really did just an outstanding job. Um, and so yeah, as I said, if you haven't backed it, I don't know what you're waiting for. If you've got a paycheck coming and got some extra disposable income, make sure you go get on this. You're getting six books, and the first three will get to you probably within the next few weeks, because I'm fairly certain he finished like the main fulfillment of the book from when he was running the campaign live. I'm fairly certain all those books have been fulfilled. So it's just whenever he gets new orders, they get put into the distribution center, and the books get shipped out. So we'll close this one out. And now time for my shameless self-promotion stint. So first things first. Actually, you know what? We'll save that one for last. First things first is let's take a look at the Nine Realms Patreon. So life can get in the way of doing a lot of stuff. And for me, life has kind of been a heavy hitter over the past year. And I can, it's to a point where I cannot afford to invest personal capital into the books anymore. So Nine Realms Publishing needs to be a self-sustaining entity. And so the goal with everything that I'm doing here over the next year is to get Nine Realms to a self-sustaining platform. And one of the avenues from which that we're doing this is we're doing a Nine Realms Publishing Patreon. And what this allows for is it allows for us to be engaged with our community. Hold on one sec. I need to go to the public page because it doesn't help you to see my end of things. You select a membership level for as low as $1 a month, and you get exclusive perks. So at $1 a month, one of the big things that we're using this for is promotion, is a way to monetize our up and coming webtoon series, Errand of the Sable Knight. And so at $1 a month, you get exclusive looks at Nine Realms content, but you also get all the chapters of Errand of the Sable Knight early. And in fact, if you are already a member of this tier, you should already have the first page, and the second page will be up today. May even already be up. So make sure that you if you want to support us, this is a great way to do it. And we have a lot of just really great early access to great membership levels. So like $5 a month, we're going to be doing at the end of each season of content for Errand of the Sable Knight, I'm going to do a Patreon exclusive floppy for it, which will have behind the scenes looks at the art. You'll get access to a PDF of the script for that story, so that you can see like what things changed between translation of script to comic. You'll get a whole bunch of really cool things. And so then we have at our $15 a month, you get the entire digital catalog of Nine Realms. So you'll get, like for instance, we're almost done with the Embrace, which we'll talk about here in a minute. You'll get both Elysian Fields books, PDFs. You'll get the Embrace PDF. And then, as I said, Errand of the Sable Knight, we will be doing that exclusive floppy. But what you also get is you get a monthly sketch card where you request a sketch card, and I'll draw it, send it out to you. And I've been doing those sketch cards live on Wednesdays. I draw. They usually start around 11:30. I draw the sketch card, talk a bit, Well, so Corventus asks, would you consider adding a color marker sketch card tier? If you want me to color your sketch card, I'll do that for you. That will be like if you say, hey, can you color this? Um, I'll do that. That I won't charge for. I'll have to pick up some materials, but you're paying $15 a month, and that's a pretty hefty value annually. You're investing a sizable amount of capital in us. So yeah, I would be happy to do a color marker sketch card. Like it's just like when you put in your request for that month, make sure that you let me know. Hey, could you do this in color? And I'll do that for you. Um, I just have to pick up the sketch card. I can't guarantee that they're going to look that great. I'm not the greatest colorist, but I think my pencil works pretty all right. So yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Then at $20 a month, we've got 6 levels of support. We have the Nine Realms catalog, and so what this is that this gets you physical copies of our entire catalog of books with Patreon exclusive covers. Now, I'm still working on getting the Patreon exclusive covers together, but we will have them. We will have Patreon exclusive covers when they're available, when they're ready to be shared. The Patreon people will get a chance to see them on the Patreon page as per usual. And yeah, like it's going to be really exciting stuff. You guys get these Patreon exclusive editions of the book as a thank you, and everything else that comes along with that, the Aaron the Sable Knight floppy, the sketch cards, all of that. And you get the books in an annual care package, which I'm going to try and make sure that I get done every year around Christmas time. um, so whatever books we come out with that year, you guys get a hold of. Then at $50 per month, you get a producer credit. And so what this means is that when you open a Nine Realms publishing book, in the credits section of the book, you will be listed. You will be listed as a producer that has invested, that is actively invested in us. Like $50 a month at the end of the year, that's quite a bit of money. So you've invested a lot of capital in us, and like the whole point is to really um, get people interested in supporting us and being producers, because like this is going to be a way that we continue to fund content. Our goal is to hit $500 a month, because with $500 a month, I can split that up between a pretty sizable amount of projects, at least 2, and get some art done. And then for the final tier that we have here is at $100 per month. You get the producer credit, you get everything that you got before, but what you also get is you get a chance to, every year you've effectively purchased a piece of original art. So like that could be anything from a sequential page, an original page of cover art, and everything like that. And we're going to have a lot of content like that. Dino Agor, our line artist of Aaron of the Sable Knight, does all of his line work traditionally, and he's going to be sending me all of the pages in bulks. And so that's something that you'll get. You'll get Aaron to the Sable. Like those will be available for you guys to pick from, and you'll get an email that says this is the art that we have available. You pick which one, and every year you get to pick another piece of original art. You are constantly collecting more and more art, and that's kind of the whole point here. Is we really really want this to be something that allows us to get our feet off the ground and maintain the production of this content. And as I said, we've got Aaron to the Sable Knight coming, and this is one of our big ways of promoting this. And so, without further ado, let's bring up the webtoon page for that. Won't talk too much about this because there's not a lot here to talk about. So this is our Aaron to the Sable Knight webtoon page. We only have 2 things up right now, and they're both character sheets. They're effectively placeholders, so that there there is a hub for people to go to and see content. We currently have 6 subscribers with 107 views. So we're trying to get that subscriber number up, view count up. So if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you go to Webtoon and do so. As I said, the first page of content is released here next Thursday on Webtoon for free. You get free access to all this stuff. Or if you support us on Patreon, you'll have access to all this stuff early. And we're hoping to keep it at a 3-week like 3 weeks of content ahead of what is being put down on the Webtoon, and that's how we're going to maintain this. Currently, we're only releasing at a rate of 1 page every 2 weeks, but our hope is that as the Patreon grows and as we build an audience, that we're able to pay for more content ahead of time and really be able to release things at like 3 pages per update. But again, that's going to be one of those things that we've got to hit like a certain level of patrons coming in and donating per month before we get there. So yeah, this is the Errand of the Sable Knight. Let's go take a look at these character sheets real quick. This is our protagonist, Sir Pellinor, who is the Sable Knight or the Black Knight, and you've got our little write-up on what this series is about. Arthur is gone, Camelot has fallen, and her once mightiest knight, the Sable Knight, Sir Pellinor, uses his last years chasing a phantom, death itself. His purpose, to redeem his greatest failing of chivalry, to use the Holy Grail as a bartering chip for the soul of a daughter whose death lies solely on his shoulders. The journey is perilous, and the once mighty knight is past his prime, and so he must traverse a fallen kingdom, riddled with barbarian invaders and specters of comrade and foe alike that haunt a once hallowed kingdom. We've got this QR code will bring you straight to our Patreon page for support. And yeah, that's Pellinor, and then this is Galahad. And Galahad kind of serves as both an ally and an antagonist in this book. He also is he is also trying to use the Grail, but his quest, his motivation is where Pellinor's is about restoring a personal something personal and regaining his chivalry. Galahad is trying to restore the kingdom of Britain. He's trying to find the Holy Grail so that he can heal Arthur, and restore him to the throne. So like you have these two characters with valiant missions that fall in line with chivalric values, but the question is which is the more noble of the two, and which character will win out by the end. They team up for a bit, they fight, it is what it is. But anyways, so that brings us to the conclusion of what we got out for Errand of the Sable Knight. There is content up on the Patreon already. You should be able to read the first page from Errand already, and the second page will be available today at some point if it is not already. And so that brings us to the coup de grace, the embrace. So, reason why I have taken my time to get to this is because the embrace is pretty much done. Dean just sent me inks here yesterday while I was last night while I was asleep of where he's at. He is finishing inking the second to last page. He will be done with that and the last page likely by the end of today. Paul Billick, our colorist, is pretty much caught up to where Dean is. He's been coloring 5 pages at a time, and he's an absolute beast. And so by the end of the weekend, we will have the artwork pretty much completed, and it will be going off to the we already have about a quarter of it lettered, and so it'll just be off to the letterer to finish lettering, and then we'll go through, edit, make sure that there aren't any grammatical issues, that all the balloons flow well, and that everything looks good. And then I'll be compiling the print file. It'll be off to the printer by the end of next week, hopefully, along with everything else. So the Embrace is coming to a close. We are closing it out this Friday. We will be doing that live on Bancroft. The goal for me personally is I would like for us to close the gap with Perfect 10 Issue 2, who are our co-launchers. When we each launched our campaigns, he has crossed 16K USD. So my hope is to try and catch up to that a bit, at least cross 15K if we can, cross 16. So we're actually not too far off from crossing 15K. We're already almost at 14. We're at 13,680 right now. So that is 1320 to get to 15K. So any help that we can get to do that, we would greatly appreciate it. This book has been a thrill to make, namely because it's been a way for me to handle a lot of my own personal grief and frustration with a lot of the things that I've had to deal with in my life lately. And to see how much that's resonated with everybody, it's been very humbling. And to see it come to life like this, to see the response, to have this be the first campaign that I've done that's crossed the 5-figure barrier, it's been an experience, and I can't thank you guys enough. I can't thank you guys enough for the support that you've shown us, and Dean and I are super excited to get these books out to you guys. We've got something very special here, and it's the start of a very beautiful adventure, I think. So please make sure that you share the link around. To anyone that you think might be interested, might not have backed, or what have you. Let's try and get this over 15K before we close. Thank you guys for everything. We're heading up to an hour now, so this is about where I want to close off. But before we go, a very good friend of mine and a big supporter of my works, he's backed every book that I've done since the beginning. Sam Jensen, it's his birthday today. So happy birthday, Sam. I'm going to put something special in your Embrace package for you as an extra little birthday gift. But thank you for the support and being one of the people that pushed me to get into comics and do this on my own. So, I think that pretty much wraps up everything for today. You can follow me on Twitter at ElysianFields_0. You can follow us on Facebook at 9 Realms Publishing. I don't use the Facebook as much because Facebook has really made itself unfriendly to small businesses as far as promotion is concerned. You can't post the way that you used to, and that's really hurt the Facebook side of promotion, and there's not much I can do about that because I'm not just going to sit there and waste time like posting on each individual page. It's just not worth that effort. But as I said, any help that we can get, share, like, subscribe to the YouTube. If you haven't already, like the video. We're really, really happy to have you guys here. Thank you guys so much. This has been a 9 Realm review. Next week, we'll be coming back on Tuesday at 10 a.m. And we will be taking a look at Perfect 10 Issue 2. So if Genuine Comics is still here, mark it in your calendar, man. 10 a.m. Eastern next week, I'll be taking a look at your book, and we'll see how it stacks up against the first issue. So yeah, thank you guys.